Witam serdecznie, Mariusz Gąsiewski Mariusz. Jak już kolega wspomniał, już trochę czasu w Google pracuję. Obecnie zajmuję się wspieraniem inicjatyw mobilnego gamingu w Polsce, czy też game devu, w zależności od tego, jak to się określa. Z jednej strony pracuję z tymi firmami, które wykorzystują platformę Google do promowania swoich gier. Z drugiej strony działam w obrębie Google for Startups Campus, tworząc różnego rodzaju inicjatywy właśnie związane z mobilnym gamingiem. Opowiem dzisiaj o tematach związanych z Firebase. Według mnie to jest bardzo ciekawy temat, który łączy sobie tematy biznesowe i tematy deweloperskie, tak? Dlatego, że Firebase jest z jednej strony platformą, która może być wykorzystywana przez deweloperów do tworzenia gier, ale z drugiej strony jest coraz częściej wykorzystywana również jako platforma typu marketingowa, która pozwala później te gry promować i również na nich zarabiać. Od razu może na początku zapytam, ile osób w ogóle wykorzystuje Firebase? Okej. A ile osób tworzy testy AB w Firebase? Niewiele? Okej, więc albo fajnie, albo nie. Fajnie, bo temat według mnie dosyć nowy. Firebase, narzędzie, które zostało też platforma, która została jakiś czas kupiona przez Google'a. Ona obecnie jest dosyć mocno wykorzystywanym narzędziem do rozwoju generalnie i aplikacji gier. Coraz więcej deweloperów faktycznie wykorzystuje na świecie tą platformę do tego, żeby gry rozwijać. Jest tam wiele takich elementów, które pozwala z jednej strony gry testować, pozwala w jakiś sposób skracać ich czas developmentu poprzez wykorzystywanie czy baz danych, czy jakichś elementów na przykład związanych z logowaniem, czy innych elementów deweloperskich, ale z drugiej strony mamy wiele bardzo ciekawych aspektów związanych z tworzeniem i promowaniem gier. Czyli to są dane, które zostały opublikowane na I.O., czyli do tego czasu pewnie mamy około 2 milionów deweloperów, którzy z tego korzystają. To jest mechanizm, który się bardzo mocno rozwija, tak? Jeżeli spojrzymy na ostatnich kilka miesięcy, to w ciągu zaledwie kilku miesięcy wydawałoby się, że jest to jakieś tam już skończony ekosystem, skończona platforma, a cały czas dokładane są nowe rzeczy, dokładane są zmiany, ulepszenia, które pozwalają faktycznie coraz lepiej wykorzystywać tą platformę do rozwijania aplikacji, a również w związku z tych gier. Jeżeli spojrzymy na firmy, które Firebase wykorzystują, mamy tam zarówno firmy małe, jak i duże, od takich, które, zresztą nawet jeżeli spojrzymy nawet na Polskę, to z jednej strony mamy jakieś nieduże studia deweloperskie, które na przykład korzystają z Firebase'a w kontekście skracania developmentu, w kontekście nawet zastępowania określonych tematów komercyjnych właśnie dostępnym Firebase'em. Z drugiej strony jest coraz więcej również bardzo dużych firm, które właśnie decydują się na wykorzystywanie najczęściej określonych aspektów, czy też określonych komponentów Firebase'a do tego, żeby te aplikacje, czy też gry rozwijać. Ok, jeżeli tu jest przykład właśnie takiego, możemy puścić głos? Jest. To jest przykład takiego dewelopera.
Mostly one TV per household. But data has become so cheap here. So this made your phone your next TV. Also launched 3 years back, and in the last 3 years we have seen our MAU grow to more than 150 million users.
Czyli to nie jest tylko małe firmy.
IPL, we decided to completely rebuild our app. IPL is the biggest sporting event in India. We were expecting a huge surge of users. We wanted to use this opportunity to launch new features.
Using Firebase Remote Config, we slowly rolled out the feature to a small percentage of users.
Our engineering team was monitoring crashes in Firebase Crashlytics. We noticed that a feature was causing some crashes on few low-end Android devices.
We used Google Analytics for Firebase to segment our users on low-end devices. And then we turned out the feature for them using conditional targeting and remote config. This way we saved our users, our millions of users from buggy experience. Amazingly, we were able to do all of this without releasing a new build. With Firebase, we can make decisions by deeply understanding and analyzing our data.
BigQuery is another crucial resource to achieve this. For example, we export Firebase event logs to BigQuery. We log app startup time from launch to load out the first screen. Then we ran queries to understand where the most time is spent. 2018 was like a dream year for us. We increased daily watch time by 38%. Technologies like Firebase and BigQuery are helping us to scale. So much that Hotstar is quickly becoming the primary viewing screen for many Indians, not the catch-up destination.
Pokazałem ten case, bo często akurat w Polsce trochę pokutuje takie przekonanie, że Firebase to jest coś dla niedużych firm deweloperskich. Ktoś ma nieduży projekt, to może sobie go na Firebase wrzucić. Coraz więcej naprawdę dużych firm, w tym przypadku mamy dosyć sporą skalę użytkowników. Nie jedna firma w Polsce chciałaby taką skalę mieć. Faktycznie na Firebase da się w jakiś sposób to fajnie skalować, wykorzystywać poszczególne aspekty tej platformy. Jednym właśnie z elementów, które nawet zostały w obrębie tego case'a podjęte, to właśnie temat testowania, czyli wykorzystywania tych testów A na B, czyli sytuacje, kiedy mamy określoną funkcjonalność, czy też jakiś określony workflow, określony schemat, który możemy w obrębie aplikacji czy też gry zaimplementować. No i zastanawiamy się, w jaki sposób możemy ten temat rozwiązać i oczywiście z jednej strony możemy to zrobić tak zwanego czuja, że bierzemy specjalistę i pytamy się go, w jaki sposób można do tego tematu podejść. Z drugiej strony to czym generalnie coraz bardziej ten rynek mobilny żyje, czyli bierzemy kilka rozwiązań, dzielimy użytkowników na kilka grup i testujemy właśnie te kilka grup użytkowników z tymi różnymi rozwiązaniami, sprawdzając, które rozwiązanie generalnie najbardziej będzie efektywne pod kątem końcowego celu biznesowego, czy to rozumianego jako retencję, czyli powracalność użytkowników, czy też celu typowo na przykład monetyzacyjnego, czyli z której wersji koniec końców użytkowników najwięcej monetyzowanych nam przybędzie. Czyli w tym przypadku, kiedy ten test A na B szczególnie jest przydatny, wtedy, kiedy mamy określone rozwiązanie w obrębie gry i jest więcej niż jedno potencjalne rozwiązanie tego samego problemu. Czyli można tą samą funkcjonalność wprowadzić kilka różnych sposobów. Kiedy zastanawiamy się nad zmianą danej funkcjonalności, czyli jak to się mówi, po co naprawiać coś, co działa. No ale brak optymalizacji nawet tego, co działa, sprawia, że może mieć często niewykorzystany potencjał w obrębie tej funkcjonalności. Tak? Więc z jednej strony znów możemy zdecydować się, żeby z czymś zostać, albo możemy po prostu sobie wziąć pod uwagę takie rozwiązanie, że to działa w ten sposób, ale oprócz tego to jest mój pomysł na rozwiązanie tego samego problemu, który przetestuje na określonej grupie użytkowników i porówna nam końcowy rezultat. Czy też temat postaci, zastanawiam się, czy faktycznie określoną funkcjonalność powinien dodać do mojej aplikacji, czy też po prostu powinienem ją wyrzucić. I teraz, jak tworzymy taki test? To jest przykład akurat takiego interfejsu. Mamy kilka nawet przykładowych testów odpalonych w obrębie właśnie tego Firebase'a. Widzimy, że w tym przypadku mamy test, który działa. Do tej pory wyświetliliśmy go 5000 użytkowników. Mamy w jaki sposób jest jego rozkład. Tutaj mamy inny test, w którym testujemy 4 różne warianty, który jest przetestowany do tej pory na 1600 użytkowników. I teraz kilka takich use case'ów takiego testu. Najprostszy generalnie, jeden z chyba z ważniejszych use case'ów to jest, kiedy mamy określoną aplikację czy też grę. Coraz ważniejszą metodą monetyzacji jest oczywiście monetyzacja poprzez na przykład reklamy, no bo to jest coś, co jest najprostsze, najbardziej oczywiste, ale powstaje określone pytanie, czy monetyzacja reklamowa, actually, should I switch to English or Polish is fine?
English, please.
Okay, so in this case, we are testing the ads. In this case, I'm asking myself if I have 2 different ads. Should I? This is the version of the app or the mobile game where I don't have where I have actually the ads, and this is the version where I have the ads. Which of those versions will be better in terms of not just the revenue, because if I have the ads, that's for sure that the revenue will be higher, but what is the outcome in terms of the retention? So if I have the app or mobile game with the ads, will I have a lower number of people coming back to that game or the app? So in this case, what I can do is I just create a new experiment. In this case, let's create the experiment. Then I'm using remote config, which means that like we will have the two groups of the user, and one group of the user will get the version with the app, and the second group of the users will get the version without the apps. So remote config, and with the remote config, I will not need to change the behavior inside the app. I will just have specific variable inside the app, and then I will be adding those different versions of the game or different versions of the app inside of Firebase, not inside of the game or the app. So in this case, you see I'm creating a new experiment, influence of the ads on retention. Then I have chosen what type of app I'm doing the test for, and what should be the percentage of the users that will be exposed to the specific test. Because if I have smaller app, I could actually decide to make sure that all different users in my game or app will be exposed to the experiment. But if I have, let's say, the game or the app with 100,000 MAU, it's not necessarily I want to risk and I want to expose all users inside that game or the app to that specific test. In this case, I decided, okay, just 5% of the users inside my game or the app will be actually exposed to that test. So if I have that group that will be exposed to the test, it will be just 5% of all users of the game. So inside that 5%, half of the users will see the versions with the ads, half of the users will see the version without the ads. And then I have chosen what will be the outcome. So what is the goal that I'm measuring that specific test towards? Because I want to decide what kind of goal, it is retention or it's any other specific event. So in this case, I have decided the estimated total revenue. So in this case, it will be counting both the revenue on the in-app side and on the ad side, and then the system will be like showing the whole outcome of that specific test for the users. And in this case, I could choose any important event inside the game or the app to be chosen as the leading event for that app as well. So it could be like the total revenue, but it can be actually the specific event that I have chosen. Like event, let's see, if I have the leading event inside the game, it could be creating the league, or like starting the first battle, or like any crucial event inside the game. That could be my goal for that specific test. And then, in this case, you see, I just added the parameter to my app, and then I'm just adding the different versions of the test inside the Firebase, not inside the app. So in this case, I added the parameter, I scripted my app or game with that parameter, and then I'm choosing the version of that parameter. So in this case, we have control group, so the people who will be seeing the ads, yes, that's the control group, and then the variant A will be the people who will not see the ads. And then I could limit that test to the specific subset of users, like the users who had a specific, like the version of the phones, or like specific version of Android, or any group of the users. Or I could decide I want to do that test only in US, or like any specific country that is kind of important for me. Or I decided that I should have different tests, for example, in tier 1 countries versus in emerging markets. Because we have different phones, we have different speed of the internet, and a lot of different factors that actually can influence that specific test. So in this case, you see, I can limit that test to specific audiences or like specific region inside the users of my game or the app. And then once I run the test, then I see the outcome, which is that's actually the information about two sets of the groups of the users I have in my app or game. So we see in this case, I'm measuring the outcome of the ads on the retention the next day. So in this case, I see the control group. So the control group is the people who actually have the ads. The tested version is the people who do not have the ads. And in this case, what is actually kind of interesting, there is no really big difference. So in this case, we see that there is some small difference in terms of the like probability to beat the baseline. So in this case, there is a little bit some improvement for the users who do not have the ads, but it's not really big difference. So from statistical point of view, it's not that really the ads are really hurting my retention. It's just that it's not really that once I have the ads, it is ruining my retention. So you see, actually, you see that the differences between those two versions are not really high. It's actually very small difference. So in this case, we can use the A/B test, even such simple one as this one, to really solve those different disputes we have between like designers or between the programmers when they have, okay, should we add this type of monetization or different one, or like how we actually should solve specific placements even for the ads. And of course, if we go further, it's good to have somebody who is good at data, like once we have the tests. For example, like we could use such simple calculator to understand how many users we have, or actually how many users do we need to make sure that the test is valid. So like for the specific improvement, do we need 2,000 users per test, or do we need 5,000 users? Do we need like 10,000 users? Because like all tests are different, and the number of users actually it's coming mainly from what kind of improvement do we expect. So for example, if I have the retention day, like day 2, let's say day 1 or day 2, depending, it's like 40%, and then we expect some improvement, let's see, to 42, yes? So then of course, so there's like, this 2 points, there is a difference. Then like the number of users is actually depending on how many users do we have. Because if I have like 100,000 users, those 2 points will be big difference. But if I have 500, it's not really a lot. Okay, but the A/B test doesn't need to be just for monetization. It can be just for the game in itself. In this case, let's see, we have the very basic test. Sorry, very basic game. In this case, the simple game when we have some tiles, and it works following. We see the pictures. We have, let's see, 12 or 15 seconds to memorize it, and then the pictures are hidden, and we need to actually get them back. Yeah? So depending on our memory, we need to be either we are good or not really good at like remembering what was at the beginning. So in this case, let's see, we have that game, and actually we have 2 main variables. The first one is number of tiles, because in this case we have 3 by 3, which means we have like 9 items in total. But we could decide, okay, maybe 9 items to remember is too much, it's too difficult. Maybe we should actually decrease it to 6. Because if the game is too difficult for the people actually will abandon it as well. And then we have second variable, which is the time. Because let's see, the default option, people have 12 seconds to remember that setup. And then we say, okay, maybe it's too difficult for the people. Maybe we want too much from them. Let's increase that time to 20 seconds. And in this case, we have first variable, which is memorizing time. The default is 12 seconds. And then the second variable is the number of times. So in this case, we have 2 variables. And then our test will be, we have actually, let's call it 3 versions. The first one is default option. So we have default time, default number of tiles, which is default time is 12 seconds, and default number of tiles is 9. And then we are testing second version, which is longer time, instead of 12 seconds, we have 20 seconds. And then we do not change the number of tiles, so it's still 9. And then the third version is actually, we do not change the time to remember, but then we are decreasing the number of tiles. So in this case, we have 3 versions of the same game, more or less. And we are checking which of that specific version will have the best outcome in terms of the revenue, in terms of retention, or any other goal we have inside of our game or inside of our app. So again, I can see just the outcome of that specific setup on my game. Yes, of course I can choose, okay, I want just to have the test only, let's say, India on 10% of the users. We could like test with Firebase. We can test even more. Like, let's see, one of the tests can be the frequency of the ads, because on one side can be the discussion: should we have the ads inside the game or shouldn't we? But maybe let's discuss what should be the frequency. So like, let's see, during the session, user will get 2 ads per hour, versus the second case, the user will get 4 ads per hour. And of course, in the second version, we will have higher frequency, which is higher chance to monetize the user. But then it can be actually impacting the retention in the wrong way. Yeah? So again, before we implement specific solution, in this case, it's much easier and better solution just to test that solution on the specific subset of the users. Then we can go even further. We can actually test some monetization techniques. So for example, we have rewarded ads inside of our game, and very often the rewarded ads are in some way tied to the main economy of the game. So it means you can either buy something for money, you can buy some coins, or you can just do something small for showing the ad. Yes, but then there's the danger that if the rewarded ads, they have too little value, they will not be used at all. But if they have too higher value, they will be actually cannibalizing the revenue coming from in-app purchases. So in this case, we actually do the test when we are testing what is the optimal value that we are giving via rewarded ads. So what should be the value of the rewarded ad inside my economy of the game? Again, on one side to make sure that it's used widely, because once it's used widely, then it can be a really good way to actually monetize the users who are not ready to buy anything in the game. But if they have too higher value, then people will just use the rewarded. Even the people who would be ready to buy something inside the game, they will be just using rewarded video to finalize specific stuff in the game. Okay, so that's like different types of the tests we can do or we can run inside the game or the app. The question is how actually we can get prepared for that. So in this case, it's one of another example of the game. In this case, it's one of the examples shown on the previous edition of GameCamp in Warsaw. That's actually one of the tests done via gaming company Pixel from Serbia. And you see that in this case, they were testing what is the business outcome of promo running over the game, looking at the ad mob revenue and the engagement of the user, because actually that's the company that's living on ad mob revenue. And in this case, they were just checking if we have specific promo, what is this influence actually on the usage of the game. Yeah? And in this case, it actually didn't change a lot. So in this case, if we are thinking how to use those A/B tests, we can ask ourselves, okay, how to get prepared. In this case, we have tutorial, like more and more games have different tutorial. So one of the ways to approach the A/B test is actually to have the idea. It's either solution A or B. That's how I want to test. Or the second one is actually I use the data to understand if it makes sense to do specific A/B test or not. In this case, we have tutorial, and from the data I see that actually if I compare the people, like general usage of the game, and the people who completed the tutorial, I'm comparing just two different audiences, I see that the ARPU, average revenue per user, for the people who finished the tutorial is much higher versus the average inside the game. Way higher, yes? So it's really much different, which means that probably it makes sense for the people to, actually, it makes sense for the game designer to push finishing that tutorial inside the game. Actually, to making sure that people actually will finish that tutorial. It makes sense to push the tutorial. And then, if I look at the different events running coming from the game, by the way, that's actually the screenshots from Firebase'm as well. We see that if I look at this, if I see that at this like the whole workflow, I see that people who finish tutorials are really nice. I mean, they are really great, but the challenge is that not many of them actually are finishing the tutorial. It's nice money, but somewhere very high, yeah? So in this case, it's very easy way for me to understand, okay, there is some challenge, so probably the way that I'm using today, so the way that I'm using to show the tutorial is not the best. Because at the end of the day, not many people actually are finalizing that tutorial. So based on that, I can get the idea. Actually, it makes sense to A/B test something inside the game. So again, if we want to do A/B test and want to get some ideas for A/B test, it can be just it's coming from our idea, but it can be just looking at just simple piece of the data and then decide based on the data, okay, something's not good there. I don't have really good idea why it's happening so. Because the data in itself, it's really great in showing what's happening, but it's not really great at saying why it's happening. It's just, I can have just hypotheses, and the only way to understand if this hypothesis is actually good is just to test it. Okay. Another thing that is actually highly related to A/B tests, and I think one of the best things at Firebase for A/B tests is actually something called predictions. It's how it works. In our game, we have a lot of different events happening over the time. So it can be like this finishing the tutorial or getting to the specific level, whatever we have. And just some time ago, to Firebase, there was addition of new feature called Firebase predictions, which is actually the way to look at the data based on the past behaviors of the users and understand what is the probability for the specific user to finish or not to finish specific event. What I mean? In this case, we have different so we have different events in our game, and in this case, what system looked, it was that it looked at the past 100 days of that specific event. So looking at the past 100 days for the specific event, and then it's trying to predict. Okay, looking at the next 7 days, how many of the people from that game will finish or will not finish that specific event? So for example, I'm looking at the people who are coming to my game, looking at the patterns of those people, and which of those people will churn during the next 7 days? Where is the highest likelihood that those people during the next 7 days will not finish that specific event? And this actually, I mean, for sure many of you heard about TensorFlow. It's like kind of, the library, the system that Google invented for machine learning. And actually, Firebase predictions actually usage of TensorFlow in making it available for the developers. So again, how it works. System, we are just adding some events. We are measuring some events inside our game. It could be user who is starting specific battle, user who is joining the league, users who is creating the first item inside the game, user who is clicking the app, or any other event that we have inside the game. System is looking at the past 100 days of the data for that specific event, and it's trying to predict likelihood of that event for the users inside the game. And what's more, those users can be used for our A/B test. What I mean, it can be that we are distinguishing the users who are likely to churn our game, so they are likely to abandon our game, and we can decide, okay, I'm planning kind of promo inside my game. So like, for example, you will get 20 coins in the price of 5 coins. I will just display that promo only to the people who are in this specific group. And I will actually explain it based on the example. You see, we have the event join the league, and system is seeing, okay, that's number of people who are having that event, and from all users, those are users who actually are likely to join the league. Based on that specific predictions, we can decide to run the test. I will show it based on an example. That's Hybrid, that's the gaming company from Australia. They have pretty interesting game called Dandelion. You'll see it's kind of popular, like many installs. It's pretty good number of the reviews as well, pretty high quality of the users. And what they decided, they had the gift promo campaign. They wanted to give some free coins to the users, but they asked themselves, okay, what kind of influence it has actually on retention? How people actually behave once we will give them something for free? Maybe it's not a really good idea. So what they did, they actually did the test, dividing the users inside the game into 3 groups. The first one was control group. Then people didn't get the promo at all. They didn't get it. Then, based on the data, they saw that the highest outcome is actually coming from the users who got at least to the level 3. So that would be our group. The people who got to the level 3, they will get this specific promo. And then, the last group was actually that group taken from Firebase. The people who are actually likely to churn. The people who have actually the likelihood to churn. And then they did just the test based on that group. Yeah? So we have the parameter will churn, and then the value true for those users. And then, so we had the experiment, control group, people who are not giving the gift at all, people who got the gift after they achieved the level 3, and then the people who are likely to churn based on the Firebase predictions. And that was the outcome. If we compare the day 1 retention, it was not big difference, but if we look at the day 7 retention, they increased, for the group who was likely to churn, they increased the retention for like more than 25%. And actually we have more and more sophisticated way to approach the monetization. We have more and more companies that on one side, then they monetize part of the users via in-app purchases, they monetize some part of the users via ads. That system can actually be used, for example, to divide the people into the groups who are likely to spend. So for the people who are likely to spend, so are in the prediction of the people who are likely to spend, will be not seen any ads. Because we don't want to show the ads to the people who are likely to buy something inside the game, yeah? But then, if we have the group, the people who are not likely to buy anything, so they will not buy anything, we want to earn any money on them anyway. Because if we know that they will not buy anything, at least we will have some money from ads. So in this case, we could, for example, decide, okay, the people who are, we have prediction, they are predicted not to spend, we'll be showing them ads. And the people who are predicted to spend will not be showing them ads. In this case, it can be even more sophisticated because just recently, just a few months ago, the results of our test can be even pushed to the BigQuery, and then we have access to the raw data of such events as well. So then we can even do even more sophisticated stuff based on those events. Of course, we could have much more use cases. So like we could decide, okay, we just want to test some banner for Christmas. Or we want to show the coupon to just some group of the users and not show that coupon to other group of the users. Or it can be like different for search experience for different group of users, like specific differences in the way the game or app works. We could show even different home screens for different set of the users. It can be even the difference in the way that if we see that many people are dropping after getting to the level 5, we can decide, okay, maybe the reason for that is that just level 5 is very difficult. It's very hard for people to go over that level. So some users will see the game with lower difficulty of the level, and some users will see the will see the game with higher difficulty of the game. And then of course we have even more different use cases. It could be like a lot of different use cases which could be used just to test out some stuff, like changing the game, not just doing that for like all users, but just maybe testing that on the different users. So a lot of different use cases actually that can be used to make sure that before we change something meaningful inside the game or the app, we do it in the systematic way. So we are not doing that based on our feeling, but we are doing that based on the data. Okay, and that would be all from my side. I'm just adding a few links. So on that link you will see a lot of like technical explanation how to run such tests. Like, I mean, you read in the code. There is a really good quick lab when you could look at such tests step by step. For the example ads, for the example gamer app. Then there's really good help center when we have a lot of examples for different even languages that we can use. And then just to, like maybe as the last sentence, if in general such topics like this one are interesting for you, like every 3-4 months at campus, at Google for Startups campus in Warsaw, we are running a conference called Game Camp. The next edition is in a few days. It's actually like the people talking about the business aspects of mobile gaming, so how to use the data, how to monetize the game, how to actually set up different tests. I think we have just the last few places. That conference is free for game developers or for the gaming companies. It could be that we could have just finished the seats, but if you would like to come and you don't see any other like seats left, just write me and then I will add you to the list. Okay, and that would be all from my side. That's the contact. If you have any questions, feel free to ask right now as well.
Dziękujemy bardzo. Podziękujmy Mariuszowi oklaskami. Mamy czas na jedno pytanie.
Może być powolutku, bo tak.
To może w przerwie wtedy.
Tak.
Ile to kosztuje używanie Firebase'a?
Firebase jest darmowy. W obrębie Firebase'a niektóre tylko opcje są płatne, czyli na przykład w tym przypadku przykładowo płatne jest BigQuery, ale też tam jakby nie mamy jakby czegoś takiego opłata licencyjna, tylko mamy opłatę w formie ilość określonych zapytań czy też kalkulacji, tak? Ale to jest jakby produkt związany z bazą danych, z jakiegoś warehouse, można powiedzieć, jeżeli chodzi o dane. Czyli same testowanie, czyli na przykład AB testy w obrębie Firebase'a są za darmo. To jest funkcjonalność, którą może każdy wykorzystywać bez względu na swoje osoby. Zresztą lwia część funkcjonalności jest w Firebase'ie bezpłatna. Płatne są tylko te, które są związane z wykorzystywaniem na przykład storage'u, wykorzystaniem bazy danych, wykorzystywaniem danych kalkulacji. Sama platforma jest